One thing I absolutely hate about supercars and the many different supercars that I've driven is that a lot of manufacturers build them to be more of a glorified handbag. Yes, they look like they're deserving of being on the track and they look like they can go the quickest they are, but they're a bit wobbly in the suspension and the engine's a bit underlying, and yeah, it just doesn't meet the standards of what the badge on the front should. But this is different. My name's Cody Mackay. Today we're showcasing the Lamborghini Huracán STO, and I can guarantee this thing is an absolute cracker. I mean, it's one of the best cars I've driven. Follow us around, I'll show you all the good things about it. Let's do it. Now, when it comes to supercars, this is the closest thing you can buy to a road legal race car out there. It's a homologated GT3 car. They've literally ripped the stickers off it and put the factory seats into it. That's how close this is to a race car. And if you start looking around, which we'll do very shortly, you can even see they've stripped out the guts of it, all the inner guards and the trims and all the unnecessary stuff they feel to kind of polish off your normal car, what you might find in your Audi, Volkswagen and a lot of other series like this. This is bare bones basic. You take this out of the garage, you drive it to the racetrack, you race it at the racetrack, you take it back home. This isn't designed for that long trip up to the Hunter Valley. This isn't designed to pick up the kids from school. It's designed to rip up tarmac. That's how freaking good this thing is when we're talking about race cars. If we come and have a look around the front end, as you see, it's quite beautiful, quite doing its right job is what I like to say for it. But we haven't got a bonnet on the front. This is kind of similar to what my Aussie racing car's like. The whole front end with two buttons lifts up. And if you come quick, I've got to show you this because this is how excited I am about it. If you have a look, it's all carbon fibre around here. It's just like if you have an accident with this on the circuit, you can probably pull into the Lamborghini garage and say, I'll have another front end, please. This one's cracked. Throw it on there. Get me back out there racing as quick as possible. Storage, non-existent. That's it. You couldn't even fit a case of beer in there. You couldn't fit your laptop in there. You couldn't fit nothing in there. It's literally just there to put the wrap over the car, just to keep it nice. They've got the battery chargers, 12-volt system in there as well to keep everything all charged and going. But as you can see, if this is a start off of what the rest of the car's like, the unnecessary stuff's stripped out of it. And that's what I love about it. It's raw. You can see the detail. It's what a real race car's like. Simple flipping it down. Locked in. How good's that? If we start to walk around the side of the car, yes, you'll see a lot of the very well designed features of what's going on with a lot of the Huracán models. Yes, it does look exactly like a Huracán, but then obviously this beautiful carbon fibre wing at the back of it to really get that rear end squatting down when you need that downforce. And I can tell you it works. It even looks like it's adjustable as well. So see all these screw points here. So Lamborghini hasn't allowed me to start modifying their cars yet, but I'd love to start playing around with wing angles, start to see if we can get some better downforce there. Race car, that's what I'm saying. It's a simple race car. Come down to the back as well, and I really love the back end of the shot of the car. You can see the back of the tyres through the vents. You can see the exhaust. You can see the back of the engine. Why? All those unnecessary trims and all that garbage is gone. This is a race car, and I'll keep saying it over and over again. The sound from it, chef's kiss, beautiful. I love this thing. You start it up and it's freaking loud. You take it on the highway, it's freaking loud. It's what it should be. I don't know how they make it on the road. I don't know how it's legal, but they do it, and that's why I absolutely love it. Now, driving this thing, I'm going to use the race car word again, is rough. I'm not saying that it's a bad experience, but I'm definitely not saying it's the most comfortable ride you'll ever get in the world. It's a very, very, very stiff suspension, very stiff. So much so that when we're out road testing this vehicle and we'll really start to lean onto it, any subtle bumps in a really undulating road around the national parks and stuff like that would actually help lift the front up while cornering. So you'd hit a bump, you'd feel the whole front end come up, the steering get really light into it. So that became a little bit of a problem. In the suspension setup design of this, you would think it's more suited to your Abu Dhabi circuits, something really smooth and flat, Eastern Creek along those lines as well. When you start to get onto those country roads and really start to lean onto it, it's not the most pleasurable experience. But then again, going back to the race car style of things, it's designed for those smooth, flat, open circuits that you might see around Australia and the world. So something to keep in mind there. If you're looking at more of a touring car, maybe you should start looking at the other models that are available. But if you're looking for something that's a pure race spec car, then maybe this is the one to go for it. Engine wise, only one word to describe it: bellissimo. That's how bad my Italian is as well, so hopefully I didn't offend anyone that's Italian out there. 5.2 litre V10, 630 horsepower, rear wheel drive only. This hasn't got the all wheel drive. That's when I come back to it. It's a driver's car. This thing, you light the rear end up and bloody hell, you better be asking for forgiveness. And especially coming out of those tight corners when you're really leaning on it, flapping back through the beautiful shifting gearbox as well, you have got a high potential of looping this thing around. So it is one thing that I would say, if you are buying this car and you're not the most confident driver, please go out and do some driver training with it. This is a beast. This is as close to the real thing as you can get. But even if you have a look inside there as well, everything's stripped away, kind of the same thing I was saying before. You haven't got any of those ugly covers that are covering everything up. You haven't got all these silly panels and all that, meaning you can get in there quite easily and repair it if you're at the racetrack as well, whilst obviously we would only want Lamborghini certified technicians to do that, or your local race engineer. But everything is easily accessible: air filters, oil filters, coils, everything like that as well. So instead of having, like you've seen with other supercars, where you see all those big long videos, oh, I've got to take the trims off, we've got to take the back bumper off and all that type of stuff, this is easy. Me, looking at it as a mechanic, this looks as easy to service as maybe your Honda Civic. That's how easy it looks like to service. So it's amazing what you can achieve when you pull all that unnecessary stuff out of a car. Ease of access is a really good thing with these STOs, especially what I've showed you before, how easy it is to get into the front end just with 2 buttons. If you come over the back end as well, it is quite easy to get into the engine cover, and you can do it yourself. You don't need 2 people. Coming close, I want to show you all these sexy features. You'll see a lot of these push locks here with the car as well. They've got a little star pattern in there. You can get a little key that comes supplied by Lamborghini to lock it in position, especially if you're leaving it out on the street. But then again, who's leaving it out on the street? You clip it in like that, do the other side, and all you do, stick your fingers down here. There's a little lock there, the hinge I should say, and you pull it off. Simple as that. Jumping into the car, quite simple. You press, pretty much the forward side of the door handle and then pull it back from that. Quite sturdy door handle, especially for a plastic door handle, and it does flip back in as well, and it's nice aerodynamic. But if you jump in, this is what I like, and same thing what I say, stripped out and basic. It's pretty cool in here. I do like that. It is very low to the ground. There's no doubt about that. It's not the most comfortable thing to jump in and out of, but once you're in your seating position, it's quite nice. So it's pushed over to the left as much as it possibly can be. Steering wheel nice and big, plenty of vision, plenty you can see. The mirrors are huge. Don't bother looking out the back because there's a roll cage. Yes, a roll cage sitting right there behind you as well. If that doesn't get any more race car, I don't know what is. I don't know the last car I've seen that's had a legal roll cage into it, especially from the factory. That's how nice it is. Carbon fibre everywhere. Carbon fibre door trims, carbon fibre panels, carbon fibre, whatever can be carbon fibre is carbon fibre because it's lightweight. And even going back into the basics, if you do have a look at the doors, the simple pull tabs and ropes that you might expect in, say, like a Porsche Cup car or something along those lines. This is as close to a GT3 homologated race car as you can possibly get for the road. One thing though is, it's always let me down, no matter what supercar I get into, The infotainment system is never up to the best of what it is. You'll find that in most cases, you're going to be using your Apple Play or Android Auto in those cases. You do have to plug your phone in though. You can't just run through and expect a wireless play, which you're seeing in a lot of cars these days. If there is an option for it, I'd want to see it, definitely. Jumping into the interior of this car, you'll see it's just enough to make it just comfortable enough to drive it on the road. But yeah, you won't find any fancy, extravagant features and everything like that on this. One thing I do like is if you notice back here, they've got a camera that's attached to the roll cage, and they've even got one up the front here as well. Now that's not for your lane assist or anything like that. That's actually to get your data from your track sessions and load it into the screen so you can go through and see what your lap times are, see what your performance is, your race lines, braking zones and all that type of stuff. So it's like it's got its own V-Box system built into the car. Like, I can't emphasize enough, this is so close to the racing experience for the road, it should be nearly illegal, but it isn't, and that's what I absolutely love about it. You've got a couple of different modes to pick through on your driving experience as well. You don't really have the customization, the suspension and everything like that. It's pretty much set and forget. First mode being your STO mode, so that's just for your driving around and all that type of stuff. Your Trofeo, which goes into your race spec mode, will pull up all the information on the dash and all that type of stuff. But also your Pioggia. Now, I do apologise for my Italian. The last time I took Italian lessons was in year 6 at school. But that is your wet weather racing mode. So if you do have a wet track, you can flick it into that mode, and it obviously limits the power and makes it that little bit more easy to drive, puts all your aids on and all that type of stuff as well. As you can see, it's straight up basic carbon fibre door skins and panels with a simple hoop to pull it in and out. As you can feel, it feels really light, and just a little emergency strap to pull the door. Now, some people might say, oh yeah, look, it looks cheap, but it's a race car. It's basic. You put the bare basics on, you don't complicate anything too much. And that's why this is so close to the racing experience. All in all, if you're looking around the range of Lamborghinis and stuff that has available, this is as close as you can get to the raw cut driving experience possible. Obviously, it's based off the homologation model that they race in the GT3s. So this is a real hardcore, what a supercar should be, raw to the ground, pure performance, adrenaline action machine. I think I've thrown enough syllables in there to really excite anyone. If you're looking for something more comfortable, something that you can drive around the city with and show off in that type of sense, then maybe this isn't the model for you. As I said, it's a real driving experience. But if you want that raw experience, if you are a race driver or love going to the track or just love anything to do with motorsport and want that absolute thrill, this is the car that you'd be looking to. This rear-wheel drive, absolute monster, will bite if treated incorrectly. So you do have to be careful with it. Drive it with ease, but drive it in a forgiving style is what I like to say from it. All in all, I love it. I absolutely love it because it suits me down to every little bit of aspect. I want to have that rough riding experience. I want to have that raw feeling. I want the power on tap when I want it. And that's where I come into it. Don't get me wrong, it's a couple of areas that I'd be wanting to change, but look, you wouldn't change much. So I hope that's informative as it'll ever be. Thanks, guys.